the record button now. Will, you are first up. You're going to do great. You've done your research. You're prepared. Take a deep breath, and I'll hit the start on the stopwatch on your first word. Okay?
Hello and good evening. My name is Will Wayne. By a show of hands, how many of you have ever broken a bone or gotten a cold? All right, and how many of you went to the doctor or got treatment for that? All of you, right? Because that's what we do. When you need to go to the doctor, you go. Let me introduce you to Taylor Adams, a woman who struggled with mental illness and now speaks out. She said, "When I told my father I was struggling with depression and social anxiety, his reaction was to hand me a self-help book on how to meet new people. When I told my mother, she stayed silent, making me feel even more ashamed, like I had done something wrong." Oftentimes, we are subtly taught that mental illness is a weakness in our character. Unfortunately, people do not always view physical health and mental health in the same way, and it can be incredibly difficult to ask those who you love for help because of that stigma. Even those with the best intentions may not give you the help you need. Many people feel the same way that Taylor did, misunderstood, helpless, and ashamed. Mental illness in itself is an issue that our world faces today, but the true crisis is the number of mentally ill that go untreated. It is a problem that has become more and more evident. So the question must be asked: how can the mental health crisis be resolved? To solve a problem, one must first understand it. I started with my home, the United States. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 19.1% of U.S. adults experienced mental illness in 2018, and 16.5% of U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experienced a mental health disorder in 2016. But the statistics that are concerning are that only 43.3% of those adults and 64.1% of those youth received treatment. Of those 55.3 million people that suffered from mental illness, only 24.5 million received treatment. That's not even half. And as I continued my research, I saw that this was just as severe of an issue worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 4 people in the world will be affected by mental or neurological disorders at some point in their lives. Around 450 million people currently suffer from mental illness, but nearly 2/3 of people with a known mental disorder never seek help from a health professional. Nearly 2/3. That makes this issue so important are the extremely negative effects that untreated mental illness can have on a person and those around them. Untreated mental illness can directly or indirectly lead to one's condition worsening, physical health issues, financial problems, lack of job stability, prison, being taken advantage of by others, or suicide. Mental illnesses are the cause of about 90% of suicides. That means that 720,000 people a year commit suicide because of a mental illness, and I venture to say that the majority of them didn't seek out help. Untreated mental illness is an issue that is being felt around the world, resulting in pain and death for millions of people. So what is causing this issue? What is causing this large portion of mentally ill people not to seek out help? As with most things, there are many causes. Some cannot afford treatment, while with others, the treatment is not available. But the most significant cause is the stigma surrounding mental illness. Mental illness stigma is when people view those with mental illness negatively simply because of their mental illness. This stigma makes life for the mentally ill very difficult, as it often leads to some sort of discrimination. People don't seek help for their mental illness because they feel as though society will look down upon them for their struggle. And this mental illness stigma is subtly and sometimes blatantly spread through our world's cultures. One way is through misrepresenting mental illness in the media. Much of what most people know and form their opinions on concerning mental illness is from newspapers, television, and movies. Research suggests that most media portrayals of mental illness are stereotypical, negative, or flat out wrong. It has convinced people that the mentally ill are dangerous, psychotic, or beyond recovery, and even persuaded others that mental illness isn't even real. While everyone is accountable for himself, who can blame people for stigmatizing the mentally ill when the media is feeding misconception to them? Another way stigma is spread is through doctors' stance on mental health. The simple fact is that many doctors don't take mental health as seriously as physical health. A study by Health Affairs in 2016 found that doctors did not follow up on patients with mental illnesses and follow protocol as they did with those with physical illness. It also found that they were less likely to help someone with a mental illness manage their illness versus someone with a physical illness. This stance by physicians not only decreases the quality of treatment for the mentally ill that seek it out, but it also discourages those to reach out for help as they feel it cannot truly be found. The last significant way that stigma is spread is through its absence in education. Students are required to learn about a wide variety of subjects, from mathematics to history to a number of other things, one of which is physical health, but not mental health. This leads to children and adults ignorant concerning mental health, leading to many not speaking about their mental illnesses and causing others to look down on those who struggle with it. So, what is the solution to this mental health crisis? It seems fairly simple: destroy mental illness stigma. And I think the best ways this can be done is by addressing these major ways that stigma is spread through our cultures. Mental health education must be implemented in schools. It is proven that teaching high school students about mental health improved their attitudes towards treatment, increased willingness to seek help, and boosted their overall mental health knowledge. Youth who are educated about mental health will understand that it is okay if they or someone else suffers from mental illness, and that treatment and recovery is an option. Educating people about mental health from a young age is the first step to raising a world free from mental illness stigma. Secondly, mental illness should be portrayed accurately in the media. It should be used to give hope for the mentally ill and understanding for those around them. Viewers should also equip themselves with the resources available to realize when the media portrays mental illness improperly so that they will not be swayed from the truth. This will result in people understanding and treating the mentally ill better, and the mentally ill feeling more accepted. Lastly, doctors should view mental health and physical health as equally important. They should treat mental illness with just as much seriousness and care as they do a physical illness. This will not only increase the quality of care that the mentally ill will receive, but it will also encourage them to seek treatment, as they will feel more understood and cared for. Though the crisis of untreated mental illness is widespread and severe, the current power of stigma is strong. There is a way that both can be stopped. Through the methods mentioned, along with the continued efforts of current mental health organizations and programs, the bulk of mental illness stigma can be destroyed. This will result in the mental health crisis being solved, and if not solved, then drastically weakened. Thank you.
And wow, fantastic job. Well, I expected no less. Great job. Woohoo! Nobody else applaud for you. I applaud. Yeah. You did great. Man, you almost hit 7 minutes and you were flying on top of that, right? Oh, let me hit the stop record. Hang on. Which means you got in a ton of words, man. You had a full argument present. All right, so just take a deep breath. You got this. You're going to do great. I've reset the timer. I will hit start on the stopwatch on your first word. I can't wait to see what you've done. Go.
Here with me today, I have a medicine bottle and I also have a picture. They're both in common when it comes to results with dealing with untreated mental illness. Here I have the medicine bottle. Too much of this will lead to an overdose, right? Okay, I have another question for you. Would you like to see it's a casket. Would you like to see one of your loved for their true time? Okay, I didn't think so. These two items are meant to show you a few results of untreated mental illness. Hello everyone, my name is Caden Betts. Today I'm speaking on the economic aspect of solving the mental health crisis. In this presentation, the method of identifying the most cost-effective treatments and interventions to mental health will not only be beneficial for the economy, but it will also make an opportunity to get more treatments. Unfortunately, there is too much money being spent on treatments that don't work, and they're so costly that it's hard to pay for other treatments. According to economic aspects of mental health systems of the World Health Organization's analysis, there is currently more cost-effective data for treatments than for other mental health actions. It also states, having identified the actual expected cost of achieving a healthy year with a range of mental health care strategies, an important subsequent question relates to the affordability of these interventions. The solution to the problem is identifying the most cost-effective treatments and interventions to mental health. This will allow there to be more treatments with less money and to keep the ill from going broke trying to live longer. Untreated mental health is a big global issue today, and it is really undervalued for the results of it. There are many things that untreated mental illness could lead to. Mary Ellen Ellis of Constellation Behavioral Health stated the public cost of untreated mental illness includes substance use disorders, overdose, and suicide. They can cause relationships to quickly unravel, poor performance at work and school, and physical health to go down. Referring back to the World Health Organization's analysis, there was a recent epidemiological research that was conducted to see the burdens that mental health has put on the world. Incidence distribution, I'm sorry. According to this research, there's 10% of lost years of health and over 30% of all years lived with disability. When looking at the World Health Organization, they state that there's currently 450 million people that suffer from mental health. That amounts to about 1 in every 4 people. They also state that 76 to 85% of mental health illness causes cases go untreated in developing countries, but that percent goes down to 35 to 50% when talking about developed countries. But it's more serious in America than brought to general knowledge. Remember the medicine bottle in the picture that I showed you? I showed you those because Mary Ellen Ellis, the author of the article on Constellation Behavioral Health, states that mental illness and substance abuse often co-occur. That increases the risk of death from overdose. As a matter of fact, there were 70,237 drug overdose deaths in the US in 2017. She also states that as many as 90% of suicide cases are caused by mental illness. Mental health treatments are vital to life, but there are some flaws that need to be fixed to absolutely solely rely on mental health treatment as a whole. Identifying more cost-efficient interventions would make mental health care more accessible. Right now, the real treatments are way too expensive for some people to get a hold of, so that is causing patients to go untreated. That means it fails to adequately solve the economic aspect of the mental health crisis. According to James Lake and Mason Spain Turner, 2 MDs that wrote an article on NCBI, there are complementary and alternative medicine treatments that are starting to be used. CAM is complementary and alternative treatments that are generally lifestyle medicines and natural products. So far, with patients that have used CAM, they feel strongly non-pharmacological treatments improve their physical, emotional, and cognitive, social, and spiritual functioning. They reduce their severity of their symptoms, and they also enhance their overall wellness. With that, it leads to other treatments to reduce the burden. Pharmacological and psychosocial interventions will reduce the mental health burden. Per World Health Organization, for psychosis, depression, epilepsy, there are less expensive treatments. That means that ultimately they are more cost effective. For psychosis, conventional neuroleptical drugs work the same and are cheaper. For depression, the old and new conventional neuroleptic drugs work the same and are cheaper. For depression, the old and new version of a drug works the same. And there are small differences in prices between tricyclic antidepressants and generic versions of newer drugs called selective serotonin reuptake. For epilepsy, the first line of epileptic drugs work the same as an anti-consultative drug, but they are cheaper. That's the pharmacological side of it. The psychosocial side, psychotherapy is the most new cost-effective antidepressant. For severe mental disorders, there would be a lot more cost and training for psychosocial treatments, but there would be more of a health gain. So pharmacological and psychosocial treatments protect patients from financial risk along with the health gain. More healthy life will be gained with less cost. This is all like a big package deal. With the more working of this and putting it all together, this will have a better long-term impact. Using the information from WHO's economic aspect of mental health in a low-income setting, so to speak, there will be $3 to $4 saved, and in a middle-class setting, it will be $7 to $9. With this being saved, there will be more treatments to come about, so that means more life gain. According to the same article, for every US $1 million invested in such mental health care package, it is estimated that 350 to 700 healthy years of life would be gained over and above what would occur without intervention. It would be good to see that cost-effective interventions and treatments are being practiced. Cost-effective intervention and treatments across the world need to be practiced because it will be a key component to resolving the mental health crisis. They will definitely save you money, make healthcare more accessible, reduce burdens, and gain healthy life. Thank you.
Woo! Man, you practiced that for a while, didn't you? Because you covered everything, you built your thing, and you did it all under 8 minutes, but just right under 8 minutes, man. That's solid stuff. Will you click the stop share?
Yes, sir.
Good job, man. I know you're relieved now. Let me stop the record button right now. You got this. Take a deep breath and all the bad stuff out, and you got it. You're going to do wonderful, Alden, okay? I'll hit the stop watch start button on your first word of your presentation.
How many of you have a long sleep at night every so often? It should be a majority of you because according to APA.org, 3 out of 4 Americans report lying awake at night. 36% report feeling nervous or anxious, 35% report irritability or anger, and 34% report fatigue due to stress. This is a huge number. This could be a sign of a mental health disorder that many people go through on a daily basis. Hi, my name is Alden Tomlinson, and I will be talking about the mental health crisis that we are facing today in time. According to the data from the AICE Global Perspectives 13% of the global population, about 971 million people, suffer from some kind of mental disorder. While many studies rely on people self-reporting their feelings, the most reliable time series, curated by the Institute for Health Metrics Evaluation, appears to show that in 2017, just under 300 million people worldwide suffered from anxiety, about 106 million from major depression disorder. This graph here addresses the countries most burdened by the full range of mental illnesses. This is a sum of all productive life lost to illness, be it through early death or through disability. No country is immune, and none of these countries really stand out by a bunch, making it seem like there's no certain ethnicity, status, etc., that really contributes to sky-high numbers. With Greenland being first, the United States comes not far behind with about 250 less. How to put it in a more local perspective, according to MHAnational.org, Mississippi has the highest prevalence of youth and adult alcohol and substance use of all 50 states. Mississippi also has the worst access to care. 1 in 3 adults with disability in Mississippi couldn't see a doctor due to cost. Only 11.3% of youth with severe depression in Mississippi receive some treatment. To put into perspective, for every 820 people living in Mississippi, there is at least 1 mental health provider. That's quite alarming. But you may be wondering what all we're talking about here. Let's just talk about the most common illnesses. Clinical depression is best described as things loss of joy, concentration, appetite, and the list keeps going. Anxiety is uncontrollable and often experienced as much in the body as in the mind. Anxiety accounts for about 1 in 7 mental illnesses. It also causes trouble of sleep. Remember that question I asked you in the beginning? Well, here it is among the most common, and sometimes that affects almost every student from time to time. Bipolar disorder is a disorder that involves extreme mood disturbance. Schizophrenia is characterized by illusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, and other symptoms that cause social or occupational dysfunction. This is one that we have all heard of, substance abuse. It is considered a mental illness. Not every user of intoxicating substances will qualify. Only those struggling with control, compulsion, and withdrawal will not using. Some substance abuse might even trigger other mental illnesses talked about earlier. Stress disorder, or PTSD, is one of a number of trauma and stress-related disorders, and it is usually caused by experiencing a stressful event that is then relived. Loss of concentration, sleep, mood, temper, control, energy, and further can all come from this. Severe emotional, behavioral, and physical health problems arise from this. The risk of a sufferer hurting themselves or somebody else should be a huge red flag. How concerned should we be about reports that mental illness has become an epidemic? How concerned should we be about mental illness striking 1 of every 4 people in the world today? According to the source of these alarming reports, the psychiatric industry, Mental illness threatens to engulf us all, and I say to that, you should be very concerned. What can we do about it? Why not help it through the most natural thing known to mankind? Nature. Of course, other solutions contain change of diet, look up a doctor, etc. But why not turn to the one thing that everyone can change in a matter of minutes? Diets take too much commitment, sometimes very expensive, and have a hard time of getting a yes, I can do that from a person. Looking up a doctor can be tricky. They're very expensive, you have to find the right one, and they aren't easily accessible. Nature is free, easy accessible, and have no limitations. Nature can be a vital source in reducing many things that can cause mental health problems. Evidence that experiences of nature can benefit people has accumulated rapidly. It has been proven that by using your 5 senses in a new setting like outdoors, hormone levels return to normal within a few minutes. Just by nature, one's anxiety reduces, stress reduces, leads to shorter hospital stays, lowers heart rate, and increases direct attention. While outside, hearing is the perception of acoustic waves that provide us with information about the environment. Our auditory systems are involved to be the most sensitive to sounds that are most important to our survival and reproduction. We are attuned to these outside natural sounds like wind, water, and animals. We prefer those over anthropogenic sounds like traffic, industrial noise, etc. These nature sounds have been used therapeutically to relieve stress and perceive restoration and attention recovery. Smell is one of our weakest senses, yet the world around us emits all kinds of smells. Smell can have a profound effect on our mood, behavior, and cognition. Taste ties us directly with nature, and just by touching something pertaining to the big outdoors, cardiovascular health shoots way up, and so does our mood. Spending time outdoors can lead to a decrease in stress, depression, and anxiety, the 3 main common mental illnesses. More than 80% of the relevant research papers reviewed for this topic reported at least one association between outdoor activities and positive mental health outcomes, while none report a single negative mental health outcome. While it is not very clear as to why outdoor excursions have such a positive mental effect, a study done in 2015 had some interesting information. Researchers compared the brain activity of healthy people after they walked for 90 minutes in either a natural setting or an urban one, and they found that those who did a nature walk had lower activity in the prefrontal cortex, a brain region that is active during repetitive thoughts that focus on negative thoughts. When people are depressed or under high levels of stress, this part of the brain malfunctions, and people experience a continuous loop of negative thoughts. The sounds of outdoors can even lower the stress hormone cortisol, which in turn calms the body's fight or flight response. This malfunction is believed to be what triggers mental illnesses. Many of us don't take the opportunity to go outside, but even a few minutes can make a world of difference. Doctors say we need 120 minutes a week outside to reap multiple benefits. It is a medical fact that spending time outdoors, especially in green spaces, is good for you. This time is true for all groups of people. 2 hours a week was a threshold for both men and women, older and younger adults, different ethnic groups, people living in richer or poorer areas, and even those living with different illnesses. The only solution that should be given is 2 hours outside a week. With all these given benefits and proof to reduce this rising uncertainty of mental health disorders, why not go outside? One can completely turn around the malfunction of the brain that triggers mental illnesses. This is the only solution that can generate results and the only solution that anyone can try. The answer should be simple and easy, not something you should have to think about. Let's end this pathway to an epidemic. Thank you.
Holy cow, girl, that was fantastic. At 7:55, you practiced that a few times, didn't you? That's good.
I did.
That's awesome. Very proud for you and of you. If you don't mind hitting the stop share button there, let me hit this pause recording on this. That you've done a lot of research. I've hit the record button again, and I will shut up and just take a deep breath. You got this. I know you do. And I will start the timer on your first word of your presentation.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Cole Clark, and today I will be discussing the mental health crisis in the world. 90% of the people who commit suicide have symptoms of mental health, and nearly 50% of them have been diagnosed with a mental health illness. This is why it needs to be addressed and solutions for it need to be made. Virtual reality can lead to many breakthroughs when it comes to mental illnesses. Many people around the world are plagued with this mental health problem, coming from all demographics and backgrounds. This health disorder is often overlooked or not able to be diagnosed because of a lack of treatment centers. This is what makes mental health such a problem, and aided by the stigma surrounding it, many people are likely to never be checked for a mental disorder. The mental health crisis is a real thing, and roughly 1 in 4 people are affected by the mental disorder at some point in their life. If people suffering mental health had a viable resource such as virtual reality to ease and help treat their disorder, this could greatly reduce the amount of people who suffer from the mental health disorders. The people affected by this problem could be put into situations that may trigger a response, and they can learn how to either remove themselves from the situation or how to work through it. A large problem with mental health is that there are many other problems associated with it. According to the National Alliance of Mental Health, 46% of people who have committed suicide have had a known mental illness. This could be prevented by some type of therapy to help ease or cure their mental illness. The leading cause of suicide is depression, which is classified as a mental health disorder. This can oftentimes be treated by the proper authorities who have the proper tools. There are also many physical health risks that come with the untreated mental health. People who experience mental health problems have a higher risk of developing serious health issues that range from diabetes to cancer. These people can have a lower risk of developing things if they are treated for their mental health conditions. Many mental health issues can be treated or helped by therapy. Most of these illnesses are fear, anxiety, or stress related. These types of illnesses are the leading causes of hospitalization of people ages 18 to 44 in the United States, which also totals up to almost 200 billion in lost wages each year in the US alone. They can be treated and lower the total hospitalizations and lost wages, leading to a better well-being of the people and more money for them to use. The problem with mental health and mental illnesses is that the people who have them oftentimes don't seek therapy or have any type of help, and many people don't realize that they have the mental disorder. There is a lack of availability of places that diagnose mental health illnesses. These places are also expensive for many people. This adds to the lack of mental health diagnosis because people can't get the proper diagnosis. If they're able to get a diagnosis, there aren't many places that have therapists. Many rural areas don't have therapists, so they not only have to pay for sessions, but they have to pay for gas to get there and back, and oftentimes a meal whenever they go. People can obtain a virtual reality headset for well under $100. This would be cheaper than a visit to the therapist, and is also a one-time payment. This would allow people to receive help in form of a therapist from the comfort of their own house. With this, all you would have to have is Wi-Fi. And if you can't afford Wi-Fi at your house, there are many public places that offer it free of charge. This makes this form of therapy a widespread option for people of all economic backgrounds. Virtual reality can help ease and cure many health issues such as PTSD, depression, and many other stress and anxiety-based disorders. People are often taught how to meditate and relax to improve their mood or decrease stress. Soldiers who experience PTSD can be put into situations that could trigger a response from them, and they can learn to control themselves or to remove themselves from the situation completely. The type of therapy that would most benefit from virtual reality is when the patients are exposed to situations that they have a fear for. They are able to experience the situations and the atmosphere around them without any negative actions being taken against them. For example, if someone is deathly afraid of getting on a boat, they can not only get on a virtual boat, but they can experience the wind, water, and all the noises all in a controlled environment where they know they don't have anything to fear. This can give them a newfound strength to overcome the things that they were previously giving them trouble. In conclusion, virtual reality provides not only an excellent form of therapy, but can also be obtained by almost anyone. This makes it one of the most effective types of therapy because it immerses people into a world which can be turned off in the flip of a switch. This allows the person to stop whatever they experience if it ever becomes too much. Or on the other hand, they can turn it on if they need to get away from stress or relieve depression. People can experience an alternative reality that can be whatever they need, whether it is taking their minds off of things or letting them experience things that happen in real life that may trigger a response from them and learn how to not act on impulse and control their actions. Virtual reality and mental health therapy provides both a cheap and effective option for people to use. This type of therapy is also called the therapy of the future, but it can also be used to help millions who suffer from mental illnesses now. I'm done.
All right. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and stop the recording. Record button. There we go. So it is now recording, and I will start the timer on your first word. I know you've done a great job. I know you're ready to get it over with too, probably. So I'll shut up and let you begin. I'll start the timer on your first word.
By a show of hands, how many people in this room have encountered someone with a mental illness in the past year or suffer from a disease personally? In 2017, an estimated 46.6 million people 18 or older suffered from a mental illness each year. This map shows the percentage of people in each state who suffered from a mental illness yearly from 2012 to 2014. It is assumed that these numbers have only grown since then. My name is Taylor Odridge, and today I'm here to discuss some of the major issues facing mental health care today. But before we get into that, I would like to discuss what it is like to live with a mental illness and how it affects the body. A mental illness alters a person's ability to think, their behavior, and feelings. Mental illnesses cause problems with neurotransmissions, which is the communication between the neurons in the brain. It can also cause distress and disrupt proper functioning in the brain. Some of these diseases can be severely debilitating and prevent people from being able to do everyday tasks. The most common mental illnesses in the United States are anxiety disorders. Almost 40 million people 18 or older suffer from this disease each year. This image shows the difference in brain activity in a normal brain versus the brain of someone who suffers from anxiety. When someone suffers from anxiety, their brain releases certain chemicals that trigger a fight or flight response in the body. It can be dangerous because if the brain continues to release these chemicals, it can damage other organs such as the heart due to a constant increase in heart rate. There are certain medications that have been supplied to decrease the symptoms of mental illnesses but have proven to be not as effective in other illnesses. This graph shows the rising toll of mental illness up until 2018. Mental illnesses is the second most cause of disability in the United States. Looking at the graph, you would think more people are getting treatment and taking more medications than ever before. So what is the problem here? This brings me to my first issue, which is the lack of incentive to figure out what components of a treatment for mental illnesses are actually effective in curing and improving the disease. The lack of precision in our research, diagnosing, and treatment of these illnesses has brought our progress to a halt. Mental illness has become increasingly trivial over the years. It does not get the amount of attention and awareness that it needs to be resolved. Medical research and actions towards improving mental illness is very poor. One reason for this is that we aren't producing any new treatments. Many of the current treatments we use that have been developed in recent years perform just like older medications. The problem that faces the world of mental illness is that not all medications we have work for different types of the same disease. As time passes, these diseases are becoming more complex and constantly changing while our treatments remain the same. In order to increase the effectiveness of these medications, we need to increase the knowledge of what components are helping and which ones are not. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to mental health treatment. The treatment is altered by each individual patient and their specific needs. The options of treatments available to those who suffer from a mental illness are very limited. These patients have the choice to undergo different types of psychotherapy. Popular types of psychotherapy include cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure therapy, and for some, therapy pets. Patients also have the option to take medication for their illness, such as antidepressants, anti-anxiety, stimulants, antipsychotics, and mood stabilizers. Therapy has proven to be effective, but for those that need more, medications are a bigger issue. As these diseases become more complex and lethal over time, our medications need to improve as well. What is next for these patients if neither of therapy nor the medication seem to work? The solution is to figure out what components of the medication are helping and try to increase the efficiency and to reduce the symptoms of multiple diseases. In order to reduce the impact of these illnesses, we need to get the treatment right as soon as possible. The reason I say that is because when dealing with mental illness, time is of the essence. To achieve that goal, a much deeper analysis of the disorders need to be made, and the researchers need to reach a broader group of people. Through that in-depth research, it will allow us to come up with more precise subtypes of a disorder and see how well the treatments are working. If we take these successful treatments and break them down and back translate, we can find out which part of the treatment makes it work. It's important to find that it's important to find that specific piece that works, because you could take that piece and expand it to improve not only that medication, but others as well. In conclusion, the topic of mental health disorders has become abysmal. Mental health does not receive the amount of attention and awareness that is needed to resolve the issues surrounding these disorders. Treatment options for those who suffer from the diseases are very limited, and there is an increasing drop in effort to find solutions. Not all medications available serve the same purpose for different diseases, and patients are suffering more and more each day because of it. In order to improve the effectiveness of these treatments and reduce the suffering these patients deal with, we have to provide more research and figure out which components of these treatments are helping and expand it to develop more beneficial medications and treatment options. Thank you. You're muted, Mr. Henson.
Gotcha. Well, that had to look very goofy, didn't it? Thank you. I wanted to say I tip my hat to this group. Let me pause the recording for a moment. Now, the rest of this video will be about how to solve the mental health crisis, but this is shifting to another group because we're doing a makeup video for a student who is just now technologically able to join us. So he's joining in another group to present. There is an audience watching him. And Jacob, your topic is?
Urban flooding.
Urban flooding. Everybody got that? Okay, I'm about to turn it over to you. Let me reset my stopwatch. Okay. Go ahead. Are you pulling up the screen first, or do you have something else to do?
Well, see, I've kind of got like the visual aid that I'm
You know
planning on
what?
using.
Save it for the video. Save it for the video. You've worked hard on it. I'm going to split the screen so we'll be able to see it either way. Okay? So if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Well, it's outside, so I'm going to have to go there real quick.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Now, you know we're supposed to do this in an unedited. Let me stop the recording. I am resuming the recording. I believe Jacob has changed his mind. He's about to begin his recording. Thank everyone for being patient. I will begin the stopwatch on your first word of your presentation. Okay, Jacob?
It's shared, right?
Got to click your share screen button. There you go.
Hey, all right. So, hello. My name is Jacob Wilbanks, and today I will be discussing a much overlooked issue on the global and local scale: urban flooding. Urban flooding and the issues it causes for all of us is very significant, no matter how far away you may live from a large body of water. Much has been done in the past few decades in an attempt to soften the blow of urban flooding, but unfortunately, it seems to have caused more damage than it has stopped. Urban flooding is a major problem in our country and in the rest of the world at large. In the last 10 years, thousands have died during flooding-related incidents, and the number of deaths per year is only going up, as it has been steadily for the last 30 years. Urban flooding in the United States has cost hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage and cost thousands of lives. Natural disasters cannot be truly prevented, but we can retain some level of control as to where floods can hit and how hard, allowing us to bring urban flooding not to a complete halt, but to a very slow roll. The solution I offer you today is not some newfangled technology that will magically solve all of our urban flooding issues, putting no small amount of strain on our government's economy as a means to reduce urban flooding. It's a not-so-new plan that would divert floodwaters away from large cities. The greatest and most easily implemented solution for urban flooding is actually the solution that was put in place long before mankind got themselves involved in this situation. Floodplains. This is a naturally occurring phenomenon that would solve a great number of our urban flooding issues without putting too much of a strain on the economy. And they would be doing their jobs today if only we would get out of the way and let them. These images show the implementation of floodplain management can help reduce the severity of urban flooding. You can see how much, our involvement in reducing the floodplains area has ended up increasing the amount of flooding towards other areas. Floodplains are not properly implemented and are therefore unable to properly do their jobs. But with proper floodplain management, we can divert a vast majority of floodwaters into areas that will not affect urban areas and infrastructure. Proper ways to implement floodplains most effectively include building dams and reservoirs that can store excess water upstream from developed areas. This method would serve to keep floodwaters from ever even nearing the problem areas in the first place. And disregarding extremes like a dam break, this is a very safe and straightforward way of softening a blow of urban flooding. It has been used to great success around the world, but it is not viable in many cases, so it can't be used everywhere. Another solution involves altering channels to make them more efficient so that the floodplains can take in more water. This can also be a bit of a double-edged sword. If done incorrectly, the openings in the channels can be too small, which leads to increased flooding in areas that are not typically prepared for larger floods. This has been used by developed countries around the world, but in the end, it has caused more damage than it has stopped. Only with proper implementation will we be able to use this system properly. Treating land to hold as much rain as possible where it falls so it can infiltrate the soil and run off. Less runoff water simply means less flood water. When rainwater is able to go directly to the groundwater, the rivers are unable to collect that excess water for floodwaters. Restoring and preserving the natural resources and functions of floodplains is a strategy that involves halting development on floodplain areas and protecting the areas from losing their natural resources. If floodplains are uncrowded and properly cared for, they will be able to more efficiently do their jobs. The mix of natural floodplain vegetation and the structure is the perfect flood reduction system. Floodplains have been doing their jobs for years, and they will continue to do so for years to come if we simply step out of the way. With these strategies in place, the urban flooding that we know today could be a thing of the past. Humankind is capable of accomplishing great feats to solve problems. We have harnessed the power of the world around us in order to make our lives more comfortable and more efficient. But this time, we do not need a great feat to solve our problems. We do not need to bankrupt ourselves in the pursuit of a better floodplain design. We just need to let nature run its course. This, of course, will not end urban flooding, but will at very least reduce the damage that we have done that is only making it worse.
The end. Good job. You got it done. Will you mind hitting stop share? I didn't know if it sounded like a conclusion, but I don't know if you're transitioning into if that was an intermediate. Hey, let me hit the pause. You did a great job. Thanks.